Has your responses to racism changed within your workplaces since the heightening of the Black Lives Matter movement this year?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I would say definitely. My response itself, obviously, that you can go around just telling people individually, or you can think, right, how could we really change the workplace and the culture itself? Like, what are they doing now? So I kind of had like a thought of, I don't know whether it's because, you know, that time during COVID and right at the beginning of lockdown, everything quietened down. I had a bit of time to kind of like reflect on it and think, right, well, what do we do to be more diverse and inclusive? You know, we've got those e-learnings that people just click through, don't they? Your diversity e-learning right next to your health and safety one. Like, it's just, it kind of gets lost within it. It gets lost within everything else that you have to do. So it's time. And then when everything happened, obviously the death of George Floyd and the huge Black Lives Matter movement, you kind of thought, there's this huge movement going throughout the world. I think it needs to be done in the workplace. There needs to be a bigger movement. There needs to be a bigger switch in what's happening, a complete shift. So my personal response was, I decided to write a letter to that I wanted, hopefully, to get to the top of where I worked, because that's how you make change. You speak to the big dogs in charge. So I discussed it with a few other people at work that have experienced, you know, maybe microaggressions and other things. Got good old Chadesy to help me write it out. And it was just basically opening my heart to them at the beginning. Just, you know, why is it important to me? I am a member of the BAME ethnic community and a very proud member of where I work. How do we combine those? How can it be this? How can it be really proud to be both? And it was just giving examples of what some people have experienced and just basically saying, right, what can we do now as a firm? I'm not even going to be like, what do you need to do? Like, let's do it together. Like, what can we do to make things better? And, you know, I got a really good response from it, to be honest. I sent it to a director and a partner, and they sent it up to the board. And I've honestly got a really good response, and I'm really grateful from that for my work. You know, it might be really obvious that changes needed to be made, but it wasn't on their agenda. And then because I finally had some time, it became on my agenda, and I wanted to make it, rather than me, the agenda of the workplace. And like I said, I've received a good response. Some of the things that we spoke about changing was having a forum. I mean, at first, I know we can probably get in a right discussion about whether we like the word BAME or not, but at first we discussed, you know, having a BAME forum. And I say that because, you know, my work it's predominantly white. It's okay. There's no reason, well, there might be reasons behind it, but it is. And it's about thinking about how can we bring in more people? How can we make the workforce more diverse? But before you do that, let's see how the Black and Asian and other ethnic minority people feel at the moment already there. How can we improve their experiences? So we decided, like, maybe to set up a forum. We thought about, we do charities every year. You pick a charity, just something like that. Think about your local Black charities. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, pick one of them. You know, a lot of people in my workplace probably didn't know a lot of them, you know, so it's about researching, sending them, and they realise, oh, these are really interesting. We'd love to help. This helps our community. One of the big things I think that workplaces need to work on in general is education. And like, I think you said this before, whose job is it to educate? And in my opinion, I do think organisations have a responsibility to educate on, first of all, what is happening. Be commercially aware of what's happening now. Don't make it general. Let's talk about, as a firm, the death of George Floyd, Black Lives Matter movement. Why is this movement required? And like, seriously educate. Get someone in to talk about microaggressions, like, and to discuss like what you might think is appropriate and what's not. I think education was a big deal. And one of the things that I did to assist with that is for Black History Month, again, I just wanted to get someone moving on Black History Month. It's such an important month, and I was really scared about that as someone who's not Black to have to like put it together, talk about why it's important. You know, you almost don't want to speak on behalf of everybody, especially the culture that it's not mine to speak about. But I thought at least if I could bring someone else in. So I mean, I contacted a lot of people. The Black Owned Economy Facebook page was really helpful in this respect. And I got links to Heritage Corner, and they do like walks around Leeds, and they said they'd offer a virtual version. You know, looking at buildings, talking about like buildings that were erected after slavery, but there's you can see pictures of Black people being put as slaves. Like, why is that? Like, why is that going on? What happened? Like, it was just so interesting. And I brought them in on a Zoom call, and loads of people from my work joined it, and everyone was just so interested. It grasped everyone's attention, and not just so for that month. It was then like they were asking. It was so refreshing to hear people ask loads of questions at the end. I was so nervous, like, oh, is it going to be a good response? Is anyone even listening? But because you're at home, so you're not in a place watching and everyone listening. And everyone asked so many questions, and they were interested. They wanted to know what other books they can read, how else can they teach their kids while they're working from home more about Black history. And I think I'm very happy that I took it to that level, to go to hierarchy and completely change how hierarchy are thinking, and to put it on the agenda, make it known. Now we've got a board member that is responsible directly for dealing with race and ethnicity and diversity and inclusion. That's what you need. You need to give it that kind of essence that you feel, and I feel, that other areas of diversity get, such as LGBTQ, gender. Like, I hear about it all the time. It's great. Keep doing that. But race and ethnicity, especially Black Lives Matter movement, it needs a platform. And I think that was my plan. I just wanted to give it a platform, and then took it from there.
You literally put race on the agenda in your own single-handedly. I definitely think that my response has changed. I gave the example before of the incident in the school with the boys and the head of year, you know, neglecting to respond to that scenario. To ensure that I was better prepared or equipped to deal with the same situation should it happen again, I came into a new school, and the first thing I did was reached out to one of the head teachers. I said, can I just have the room with you for a sec? And I said, well, these are some of the things that happened in my previous school. Scene by scene, I told him what happened. And I said, if this happened in your school, how would you respond to that? And I think he was kind of taken aback, because I was coming into the school as an NQT, just little me, like with my big mouth, like confronting the head teacher, challenging him and asking how he would respond to it. And I was so content with the transparency in his response. He said, number one, so sorry that you went through that, that's unacceptable. It's very unfortunate that you had to go through that and that it was dealt with so horrendously. And then he kind of reeled out some of the policies, the school's attitude or perspectives towards any form of discrimination, zero tolerance. I said, brilliant. And then we got talking about the school's stance on ensuring this diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And he was very transparent to say that, unfortunately, within the school, we haven't placed it on the agenda. We haven't made it a priority. Not that the school is actively being racist, but they've not done anything to put any kind of anti-racist strategies in place. And in that moment, having that honest conversation with them and seeing that he was happy and open to suggestion, not that it's my responsibility to come and fix the place, but the transparency for me helped me to see where we were with them. And the first incident of racism, I had it in my classroom. We were speaking about abortion, and a student decided to make reference to the fact that in China, there was the situation of birth control. And in that situation, a student remarked, well, let's just kill all the Chinese people, by which I absolutely lost my rocket. I screamed, and the whole classroom went silent. So first and foremost, he knew that I wasn't having that in my classroom, and everyone else in the room realised that that was never appropriate. Emailed all head teachers in that school, anyone that was above my head, and I said, this is the incident that has happened and I'm logging it in the system. What happens next? And I was really keen to see how the school was going to respond to that. Before the end of the day, that child was excluded, and statements were taken from all children in that classroom that had heard what he had said. And in that statement, they were asked, what did you think about that? There was a lot of reflection, and what they came out with for me was so satisfying that they all knew it was inappropriate. They knew that was offensive because there were Asian students in that classroom that he also offended. And seeing the way that the students responded, the teachers responded, I had to send an email to everyone that was involved, and I said, thank you for proving to me, to the students and to the staff, that the school is prepared to do something, to act to ensure that this school is a safe learning environment for all. So for me, that the fact that I was able to chase it up and get that response really did something, and I'm really prepared then, in the event that something else happens again, to action that straight away, and I'm never going to let it slide should somebody choose to not see my email. Do you know what I mean?
It gives you trust in the system of justice.
Yeah.
Essentially, that if I say something, there's going to be a repercussion to discrimination. It's not just going to kind of float off into the ether and never to be found again.
Yeah, now he knows it's not okay,
Yeah, no, definitely. I think for me, with kind of my response, I guess maybe a little bit similar to you, but maybe not in the same way. I think it helped me find my voice. I think it gave me the confidence to just be like, I'm just going to say what I need to say in situations. I think it wasn't necessarily that I was quite, I'm going to say, probably beforehand, I probably was quite in the same way that, you let things slide, you just let things go. I think I kind of, afterwards, I think people knew that, it sounds dumb, but I guess being mixed race, you can kind of fit sometimes on the borderline where people don't know where.
No.
Okay, thank you. No. I think you have that kind of ability for people to kind of box you into either the white space or the black space. And I think I made people aware that I exist in both, that I'm not in either fully, but I am in both. And so you can't just chat anyhow. And I think it was interesting. I think for me, in my workspace, there was a lot of virtue signaling after Black Lives Matter. I think they were scrambling. Again, I'm not going to mention where I work. And I think I was surprised that I actually said something about it. I would have thought I wouldn't have said something, but there was definitely, I remember they tried to make a training program very, very quickly after it. And it was a very scrambled together, put together e-learning. And you don't need to see it.
As opposed to physical training, it's just go online, have a read, have a watch, click in. It's a tick box exercise, just to say that you've done it.
Would you do this to someone who's to say, well, no, I'm going to pick no out.
So it's just how effective is it?
Pathetic learning, lazy learning.
And it's also very I feel like superficial. I feel like they kind of use inclusion diversity as this very light, shallow thing, rather than where I'm always like, white supremacy, white superiority, let's get to the core of things. And I remember that they kind of started trying to put this pack together, and they basically CC'd every single black person or brown person in the uni and says, could you just check it's all right and we've done a good job.
Is this after they've already put the content together?
Yes.
Oh, they've done it, but you've got to...
Yeah, and so I think, literally. And I was surprised I kind of responded, because I think maybe previously I wouldn't have, and I kind of just was like, where is this training come from? Who's created it? What is it trying to address? And also, if you're going to ask black and brown people for their time, pay us. The same way you're going to get consultants to kind of come in and do to create a diversity training. Don't expect staff to kind of give free labor and free time to kind of just to fix a problem. You were saying, I think it's really important to have the voice, but we're not here to fix problems. This is a problem that was not created by us. And so therefore it's not necessary, or at least not with any kind of, let me not go without having some kind of compensation for our time and effort that we're putting in, because it is emotional labor.
I literally remember coming home before I got help, doing everything at the work and planning Black History Month and things like that. I remember seeing my boyfriend and my mum and dad saying to me, are you getting paid as an ethnic minority diversity liaison?
Do you know what I mean?
Big fun.
You're doing other people's jobs for free.
That's a whole person's job.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Do you feel like, as a mixed race person, when this whole thing was going on, did you ever feel like you was on the fence? Or have you always felt that? Because you did say actually that, because I'm the same, I never know whether I act too white around white people or too black around black people. Like, you never know where you fit in, and you don't know where each race is going to put you. But after the George Floyd situation, I did feel like I gained a much bigger voice as well, probably more towards my black side. Would you say the same, or would you say you still feel very much on the fence?
I think I can definitely pick up on that. I think to kind of make it frank as probably as possible, you get light skin privileges, like being mixed race.
Yeah.
And so if you want to, you know, you can choose to opt out in certain spaces.
Yeah.
And I think Black Lives Matter made it very, very pertinent that you might not see yourself as a black person walking around spaces, but other people will. And so that means that however the same discrimination as black people get is the same, maybe not say same, but there is a level of discrimination that you experience as well. And as much as you might want to try and opt out, you can't, because it's white supremacy, whiteness is a concept, and it's kind of even more, I guess, leaning into more of like the bigger frameworks around it about, like I keep saying, white supremacy, the idea of whiteness, superiority, centering of white people. Like, that's never going to be my space. Like, that's not where I can even tap into.
Yeah.
So I think it made me maybe, I don't want to say that I wasn't advocating before, but it kind of gave me a voice, maybe in the sense of like, I have a right to speak as well. It's not, I don't have to silence myself. I can speak in situations and actually say, yeah, maybe I might experience light skin privilege, but I also experience discrimination in different ways as well. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
As a black woman, actually, because I know there was a lot of stuff. So after the George Floyd situation, there was nearly every race creating an Instagram to help black people. But as a black woman, have you personally ever felt like people aren't staying in their lane?
Do you know what? I've been quite positive in that I've had white friends, you know, coming in trying to be an ally, you know, how can I help? How are you feeling right now? Can I just check that you're doing okay? My response has always been quite positive, like, you know, thank you for trying. I do appreciate for trying and, you know, keeping me in mind. Whether or not it's the most effective approach is another question, but I've always appreciated the compassion. But then I'm also a bit skeptical sometimes when people become very performative in, oh, let's create a new hashtag, oh, let's create a new group to show that we're doing something. It's just like, is that genuine though? Sometimes I think it can be a bit forced in that, especially with the George Floyd case. I felt that everyone felt the need to post something, do something online so that everybody can see that you're doing something. And it's just like, I think we've got enough group chats, we've got enough pages, we've got the one hashtag was enough, you know, let's just do something about it now. So yeah, I did appreciate, you know, the enthusiasm and the compassion, but sometimes I was like, all right, we get it.
I think going like off the back of that, I think it's the same with workplaces. A lot of places were scrambling, especially in the legal sector on LinkedIn and everything. To put
every sector, basically, just everywhere, every organization.
They were just started posting a lot of stuff in support. You know, they were trying to support like Black Lives Matter, and which it's great, but then they were getting called out. Like, but what are you doing to change anything within your, like, what are you doing about it then? Like, so my work actually, one of the reasons I wrote out to them is because they didn't put out anything, and it kind of annoyed me. I wanted to see something, but then that was their reasoning behind it. And to be fair, I'll give them some merit to that. Like, I get it. They saw other law firms getting a lot of backlash, and they were like, we don't want to seem like tokenistic, like we just post something and people like then ask us, well, what's your action plan? We need to get our action plan first before we start doing that, which I understood. I mean, one thing that was nice is that I saw in some workplaces, emails been sent out and actually giving people that who were affected mentally about everything that was going on, a day to reflect. And also, you know, just reaching out to them saying, we do support Black Lives Matter. If there's anything you think we can do, please let us know whilst we are gathering our information. It's giving out links to actual like places they can speak to about their mental health or counselling, which I thought was really nice, because people don't really take that push, or they think it's going to cost a lot. So for workplaces to offer that out, and I kind of wanted a bit of that. I was like, I want to know that people I work with are also supported in that way. Obviously, even though it didn't, I mean, Black Lives Matter obviously affected me as a human being. Like, it's horrible to watch. But just being like, like having people around you, especially at work, who are Black, and you just want to think, I want to know they're supported. I want to see it. And to be honest, I think someone actually asked me like, why does it affect you so much if you're not Black? And I was like, to be honest, I think it bridges a gap. Yeah, let's make it about Black people. Black lives matter. And once you start respecting Black people, or those people who are darker skinned, I do think it then bridges a gap for Asian people and mixed race people. Like, once you get over everything, like your ignorances about certain things, I think it'll be a lot easier for you to get over ignorance about other people. Like, it completely bridges a gap. So, and that's the issue. That's the issue at the time, and that, to me, that's the biggest issue at the moment. And so, yeah, people were scrambling, they were putting stuff on. So, you know, I do respect places to think about what's your action plan, what are you going to do about it. Like, I think our statistics at work, and, you know, I can say this, they're public. We know that 100% of the partners at the moment are white, and 1% of directors are Asian, 0% Black. Like, there's a clear issue here. And even though, like you said, it doesn't make them racist or anything like that. It just means it's something that needs to change.
It highlights a need.
Yeah, it highlights a need. And I think one of the things I spoke to them about is how it actually benefits a workplace. You might not even realise the benefits. You might think you're okay until you get a more diverse workforce, and then you see the benefits of having it. And one thing I see about it is it can help you as a workplace. It gives you that leverage. You are coming up above other places in this sector. You can actually say, yeah, we do represent our community. Do you know, we do represent the people around us and our clients. And I think that will heighten the, not only experience for the employees, it will heighten the workforce. It brings more efficiency in itself. And you know what? Less turnover. If you don't have it's so hard to keep people of ethnic minority backgrounds in the workplace when they don't see people like them around them. People want to leave, they do. So it's trying to get people in, make them feel included, and then keeping that flow, maintaining it, bringing it up, and then you get less turnover. You got staff that are happy and that are not leaving because of these issues, because you are dealing with them. So I will respect that. Getting an action plan in place, like I literally look at it, say, right, yes, we've got 1% Asian directors and 0% Black. By it's not quick. So by 2025, how do we want these statistics to look, and how are we going to get there? What are we going to do?
So is that what they've got in place now?
That's things that we're discussing at the moment. And you know what? Watching the Law Society conference on race, and it's available on the Law Society website, about diversity and inclusion, was really eye-opening in that way. And one thing like I kind of wanted to touch on is how the use of the word BAME, but how you break it down in between it. So one thing that was interesting to hear was I think it was in 2014, they post statistics on people in the legal sector in the top 500 firms in high positions, and they'd say I think it was 5% BAME, and that was like 1% Black, 4% Asian, and other or something. So they kind of broke it down a bit. But then when they posted the statistics in 2019, it was 9% BAME, so an improvement. That was silence. Where have you improved? Is it still 1% Black people and you've improved on Asian people? Like, you don't know. So this is something I had to discuss with my workplace. Like, yeah, call it BAME. I don't mind. Just give it a name so we can deal with the issue, whatever. But as long as you have to break it down between that, we need to know that you are giving each, like who you catering for, who do you need to help, who do you need to bring in. It needs to be separated. So when you're like, oh, we've got, I think they said like 21% of their interviewees are BAME. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. That could mean a whole length of things.
So problematic in so many ways. And I understand that we know what we mean when we use the term BAME, but the problem with that is that we can't keep making blanket statements or putting blanket strategies in place that will cater for this umbrella of persons. Whereas, you know, how do we know that we're serving Asians?
Yeah.
How do we know that we're serving Black people? How do we know that we're serving Black Africans and Black Caribbeans at the same time? Sometimes it's just so generic to be able to tick a box and put this figure that 9% of what?
It makes you feel less human, really.
That's
less
it,
an
it's very
individual.
dehumanizing, yeah.
And I think even with BAME, it, like kind of how you're saying about dehumanizing, it can easily fall into tokenistic.
Yeah.
Because then you kind
Oh
of,
my God, yeah.
like, if we're going for BAME, shit, we only need 5 BAME slots.
Oh
and
yeah.
that's
Oh, we've got 5% BAME now. We don't need to look
Yeah.
any further than
Yeah.
recruitment.
So you said your workplace was pretty scrambled after the George Floyd. And what about yours? Was your situation that you said at the beginning, would you say they only acted like that because of George Floyd, or?
Do you know what? I don't think so. Because the school that I represent at the moment is very diverse. It's very international. So I think that their response in that was with quite an awareness, a consciousness of, you know, who it's impacting, who it's affecting. But when I look at my university now, that I'm also still engaged with, I felt that there was a lot of scrambling to quickly, immediately respond to this conversation because everybody else was saying something, let's respond. But then having conversations with management, people in leadership, I realised that they were willing to start putting things in place. So they are in the process. Now that it's been brought to their attention, what are we going to do about it? And they're actively working to commit in the long term. How are we going to ensure that every single member of staff has received anti-racism training within the next academic year? So I'm seeing there that they're trying their best not to be so performative, just to be able to say, put on LinkedIn that, oh yeah, we did this on Diversity and Inclusion Day. Oh, we did this on Black History Month. I was very excited, very keen to see what they were going to do after the 31st of October, because I know that everybody was waiting for Black History Month, but then after that they continued to have that conversation. So I was happy with that, to see that they're still looking forward. Do you know what I mean?
So it seems like within you guys' workplaces there is some kind of improvement for now. It's just seeing if it continues if they choose to grow and listen to the problems in the future, not just think, okay, well, we've dealt with these now, don't ask for anything else, because that's what they like to do sometimes. It's like, we've made you feel better now, so stop
We've already
complaining.
had this conversation.
But
we're gonna keep having it.
Keep having it, keep going, keep the confidence up, and hope that other organisations do it as well.
One thing I also wanted to touch on, just for people listening quickly, is recruitment in workplaces. That's something like I was really interested to be like, how do you recruit? What do we do? And you know what? I'm going to talk about Lost at your conference again. There's a girl there. Her name's Natalie. She's a young Black girl. And she's currently, I think she was doing a training contract, and she was speaking and she was telling us that when she goes for interviews, she'll put them on the spot if there's only white people interviewing and saying, are you a diverse company? Yeah. She goes, well, why is there no one diverse interviewing me? Like she puts it, honestly, everyone in the conference was like, oh my God, yes. Like, so she will gauge whether she wants to work there from their response. So they get defensive or they're like, oh my God, you're right. Like, this is what we should do. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do they react to being put on the spot like that? And that kind of made me want to know, like, what do we do? And I read so many things about how I really think HR needs to be like a diverse panel of people, because it's not that you're racist.
Release it, girl.
No one's don't be defensive. We don't think you're racist, but you need someone to call you out on your unconscious bias. But you need someone to call you out on your unconscious bias, and that's only going to happen if you've got different people looking at who have different perspectives, so that even though yes, they say, you know, everything should be based on your merit, like who's going to be better at the job. But you need people with different perspectives who have had different backgrounds, different upbringings, to then be able to call you out on these unconscious biases that might affect the way you interview, to be honest, because that might be why, even though you're getting people of ethnic minority backgrounds come in, why they're not, even if you offer them job, why they're not accepting it. Like the way you're interviewing, how it's done, how you make the decisions. I think it all needs to be flipped on its side and redone, like just completely redo it.
I agree. Well, that is the end of that section. So thank you guys, and thanks guys for watching, and we will see you next week.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.